Amino acids are likely the most high-yield topic for pre-medical students taking the MCAT, so I wanted to make a brief video about them. So to accurately study biochemistry, which amino acids are part of, one first needs a basic understanding of organic chemistry. And this video would be too long if I attempted to explain all of organic chemistry, so just consider the basics of organic chemistry a prerequisite to this video. Not necessarily memorizing a long list of organic reactions, but rather just a basic understanding of functional groups, how to represent organic molecules in line formulas, acid-base chemistry, and chirality. To counsel pre-meds, organic chemistry is actually tested very little on the MCAT, so if you don't love organic chemistry, don't worry. Organic chemistry's value comes because the basics of it are necessary to study biochemistry. So to start, the definition of an amino acid is any molecule that contains a amino group, which looks like this, and a carboxylic acid functional group, which looks like this. That's where the name amino acid comes from. So by this definition, there are actually an infinite amount of amino acids. The neurotransmitter GABA is one such example. So this is what GABA looks like. And you can see it has a carboxylic acid group and an amino group, so hence it's an amino acid. Now GABA is actually an acronym. It stands for gamma amino butyric acid. So butyric acid looks like this. And when you have a carboxylic acid and you're labeling the carbon atoms, this first carbon right there is considered the carbonyl carbon, and then moving away from it, you label the carbons with the letter of the Greek alphabet. So this first carbon is alpha, the second carbon is beta, and then this third carbon is gamma. And if we continued, the next carbon would be delta, and so on. So on GABA, the amino group is attached to the gamma carbon of butyric acid. So it's considered a gamma amino acid. Now at physiological pH, meaning the pH in our bodies and cells, the carboxylic acid is deprotonated and the amino group is protonated. So in reality, in our bodies, amino acids look like this. So carboxylic acid loses its proton, and amino group gains its proton. So it has a positive and negative charge, but the net charge is 0. And that means that it's called a Zwitter ion, or a molecule with a net charge of 0, but also having equal amounts of positive and negatively charged atoms. So now that we've covered the basics of amino acid, students taking the MCATs need to memorize the 20 most important amino acids. These are called alpha amino acids because the amino group is attached to the alpha carbon. So on here, this is the alpha carbon, and you attach an amino group. And then they're differentiated. They all have one H here attached to this alpha carbon. And then they have a variable chain R group. And they're differentiated by that variable chain R group. So sometimes this R group is made up of mostly carbon and hydrogen atoms, and they're considered nonpolar amino acids. Sometimes this variable chain R group has a hydroxyl group, OH, and it's considered a polar amino acid. Other times it's acidic and it's negatively charged, and other times it's basic. And those are the 4 groups of amino acids. So let us make a chart here of the 20 amino acids, starting with the 9 nonpolar amino acids. So here's our chart of amino acids. And notice for all 20 of them, I filled in the general structure of an amino acid, but left the side chain R group blank. So color coordinated here are 9 nonpolar amino acids. In red, 6 polar amino acids. In blue, 3 basic amino acids in green, and 2 acidic amino acids in purple. And for each amino acid, I'm going to fill in the variable side chain R group, as well as write the full name on the top, 3-letter abbreviation on the bottom, and 1-letter abbreviation below that. So notice how all of these amino acids, their side chains are mostly made up of carbon and hydrogen atoms. Take note of proline here with this odd ring structure. Just be aware of that. It is a little different than any amino acids. But as you can see, for all 9 of these amino acids in red, their side chains are nonpolar. So now let's draw the 6 polar amino acids in blue. So notice, after we've drawn our 6 polar amino acids, all of these amino acids have either an oxygen or a sulfur atom in their side chains, which means they're water soluble and polar. Just a quick review of chemistry. For the MCAT, you can treat a sulfur atom almost exactly like an oxygen atom because it's directly below oxygen on a periodic table. That's a trick that will help you in the MCAT. That's not 100% true if you get in more advanced chemistry classes, but for the sake of the MCAT, that rule should stand. So now let's draw our 3 basic amino acids in green and 2 acidic amino acids in purple. Now notice how all the 3 basic amino acids have a nitrogen atom, which is protonated at physiological pH. This creates a positively charged amino acid. The last 2 amino acids here in purple are acidic, and they have carboxylic acids on their side chain in addition to the carboxylic acid that all amino acids have. So this means their side chain has a negative charge. So this right here is our chart of 20 amino acids with their line formula, their 3-letter abbreviations, 1-letter abbreviations, and full name. To do well on the MCAT, you should 100% memorize everything in this chart. It's one of the most high-yield topics you could do. So notice how the 3-letter abbreviations are the first 3 letters of the full name, with the exception of tryptophan, asparagine, glutamine, and isoleucine, and I'll highlight those here. Isoleucine, tryptophan, asparagine, and glutamine. So all the other 3-letter abbreviations will just be the first 3 letters of the full name. And then the 1-letter abbreviations are slightly less intuitive, and you might just have to memorize these. But you should know all of them by their full name, 3-letter abbreviation, and 1-letter abbreviation. There's no like cheat code that you only have to know the 1 letter or the full name. So now I have 2 practice problems here. So for number 1, this is a typical kind of MCAT question. What will be the charge of this peptide? And it presents it in each letter is the 1-letter abbreviation for the amino acid. So for problems like these, all we have to do is add up the charge associated with each amino acid. So we don't even really have to know the structure for this one. So we should know, if we have our chart memorized, that H stands for histidine, and that has a charge of +1. R stands for arginine, and that has a charge of +1 as well, and there's 2 of them. F stands for phenylalanine, and that has no charge. And D stands for glutamate, which has a charge of -1. So we have 3 pluses and 1 negative. That gives a total charge of +2. For number 2, which of these amino acids exhibits a beta branching side chain? So for these types of questions, we will need to know the structure. So let's draw the structure for all of these. So now that we've drawn the structure for all of these, which was the first step, we want to remember how to label the carbons of a carboxylic acid with the Greek letters. So this carbon right here is the carbonyl carbon. So the next carbon will get alpha. And then the following carbon will get beta. So we can see for alanine there's no beta branching, right? The beta carbon is just connected to 3 hydrogens. For lysine, we also see there's no branching. For isolysine, we have this alpha, we have our beta, and then it splits. Our beta carbon is attached to two different carbonates. It branches for isolysine. So therefore, that's our answer. And glycine doesn't even have a beta carbon. So that's it for this video. I didn't cover everything I wanted to cover, otherwise the video would be too long. I'll probably make an amino acids video number 2 and maybe number 3. I did not cover all topics like stereochemistry, pKa, PIs, or higher order protein structure. But like I said, I'll be making probably another 1 or 2 videos about those. So hopefully this was helpful.